So the accountant's really important for tech startups, because what we tend to see is when a tech startup kind of starts life, it would just be a group of founders and maybe a small number of employees. And when you look at the finance function, the finance function is one of the kind of things that comes in quite late in the stage, late in the process. So often you get founders that are trying to do the finance side of things themselves, which is perfectly fine, but it takes up a lot of their time. And what we try and say is, if you use an accountant to kind of help during that early stage, what you can do is you can free up your own time. You can focus on actually growing the business, focus on meeting the metrics that have been set. And the accountant can give you like the professional advice that you need to get you to the next level. And then what we tend to see is they'll get to the stage kind of later on down the line, where actually if they start to bring in a finance team, they perhaps don't need quite as much support from us on a bookkeeping side of things. So what we would do at that stage is we'd hand the bookkeeping back over to the team that they've employed in-house. And then we'd move to more of an advisory side of things, which is where we look at kind of company restructures, different tax schemes, that sort of thing, where we can really add a high amount of value. Well, for the very early stage companies, what we would tend to see is they would look for grants and that sort of thing, because grants are really good because it's basically cash that someone is paying to you and you don't need to repay it. You just need to make sure you're achieving a specific objective that's been set. They're really good for getting the company off the ground. You might also get some cash from friends and family, just either via loans or via equity, just to give them that initial kind of cash injection that they need to get off the ground. For companies that have kind of got themselves off the ground, typically they would look to raise equity finance, and you can do that through various different ways. The most common way is just to go out, do a seed raise or a Series A raise once you've done that. And basically you go find some investors. The investors will put money into the company, and in return you'll give them shares. And what you can do is you can do something called an advanced subscription agreement. So if you need money in advance of doing kind of like a big funding round, you can do an advanced subscription agreement, get the cash from the investor pretty quick, and in return you don't actually need to give them anything at that stage. But then what happens is, once you do go through a seed round or a Series A round, the money that they've already given you will convert into shares. So it's a good way to get money into the company quickly. Loans don't tend to be that common for tech companies, just because of the kind of cash flow impacts of it. So you need to actually repay that loan. So we don't tend to see that often. The only time we might see it is when a company's gone through a funding round and then they raise some venture debt on the side. So it kind of tops up the funding round just to give them that extra little bit of cash.